we're back. We haven't done one of these in a while where it was just you and me.
I'm excited. What do we have?
I missed you. Well, we had a really nasty hurricane, and I'm upset about it. A lot of people, I've been hearing stories about people's houses being completely destroyed.
That was over on the other side of Florida.
In Fort Myers, Naples, Tampa area.
Some island.
And I keep hearing about all of the places where people can give money. So I really want some of our viewers, please give money to some of the charities. There's Samaritan's Purse, Red Cross. There's a whole bunch of charities out there that are collecting money for these people.
You should definitely do your due diligence as well, because there are a lot of scams, especially when, you know,
you want to make sure the money goes where it should. So do your research. I don't know which charity is the best to go to. I really don't. Some of the local churches, maybe. I don't know.
Can they collect items like TPE and stuff?
They don't want items. They want money.
Oh.
That's what I heard the governor say. He said, donate money because you don't know what to buy.
Right.
It's like you don't need toilet paper. They don't need, water. They've got, FEMA is providing all of that stuff. They're going to need shelter.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to need
animal food, supplies.
Oh, yeah, stuff for the animals. So just give money. Actually, you can donate to some of the local animal shelters.
Oh, that would be nice. Yeah.
But it wasn't, we're here on the east coast of Florida in
kind of missed us.
Palm Beach County. It was windy. I have a lot of down tree lines and everything.
Mm-hmm. Debris.
2 days of school lost. So my kid didn't go to school for 2 days.
My kids were wired.
He's going to be breaking. Yeah, he wasn't upset about it. But I was very upset watching some of the images of the people standing on their roofs trying to get rescued. And this is always heartbreaking. It's absolutely heartbreaking. I just want to say that I just want to keep all of those people in my heart and in my mind, and make sure that everyone who hears me now does the same. Please, please keep these people top of mind in your prayers for sure. All right, so I had a funny story happen to me yesterday, having nothing to do with the hurricane. So
nice segue.
Yeah, nice segue.
I'm ready for this.
All right, you ready?
Yes.
My sister calls me up. Like a year and a half ago, I bought my niece, she's going into college, I bought her a laptop.
Okay.
My sister calls me up yesterday and she says, I'm at the police station. I said, what the hell are you doing at the police station? She said, I need to know how much you paid for that computer, the one you gave Sarah for Christmas last year.
She got it stolen.
She said it was stolen. I'm making a police report.
I've had that happen. Oh my God.
So I was like, well, did you go online and find it? So I go online.
No way. No way.
I found it.
Where this is going. No way.
I found it. It was
Craigslist?
2 blocks behind the college at a house. So my sister gets in the car.
Wait. Pause. Did you go on Etsy? Did you go on
I went on the Windows account. Did you know you could do this? If you lose your Windows computer and you have a Microsoft account, if you log into your Microsoft account, you can click Find Lost Device.
No way. Oh my gosh.
I found the lost device and I clicked the button, and the minute I clicked the button, it made noise. It said it was on. It said the battery power was at 47%. It told me the exact address where it was located. So I was like,
this is so cool, but also terrible. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but the minute I hit that button, it was a lady. She turned it off because it was on. But it was on. I got a screenshot of it. So I sent the screenshot to my sister, who went to the police. The police went to the house, knocked on the door. And my niece was with the police officer. And they said, ma'am, did you find a computer today? They weren't trying to accuse her of stealing it.
Right, wow.
Well, it turns out that this lady works at the college. She works in a cafe at the college where my niece was doing her homework while she was eating lunch. She must have got up, walked away from the computer for a minute to go to the...
so she pilfered it. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so they said, did you find the computer? And she completely denied it. Like, lady,
we have a picture.
GPS says it's in your house. And you work at a place where she was today.
Ironic.
Using the computer, and then the computer's gone.
Wow.
So she says to the police officer, she says, oh, I would never take anything from work. I'll lose my job like that. Well, I'm fairly certain my sister's calling to make sure she loses her job anyway.
Doth protest too much.
Well, she didn't give it back.
But you have the screenshot.
Of course.
Yeah,
And we gave
so
it
it's
to the
there.
police officer, and the police officer knocked on the.
They have reasonable cause.
They're not going to do anything. It's not worth over $1,000, so it's not a felony.
Gotta be kidding me.
Just like let's steal a
So-
laptop from an 18-year-old kid who's just doing her best to
so
study.
they didn't get
and-
it?
Nope, didn't get it back.
Hang on. You did the sleuthing. You
Yep.
found it.
Found it.
You have a screenshot.
Screenshot
You had the
of
GPS location. And just because somebody denies, you can't have probable cause to go in and check it out?
They won't do anything about it. They said no. My sister's got to go to the owner of the cafe and see if the owner can convince this lady to give this computer
That's
back.
messed up.
But the worst part is it's all her school stuff is on that computer. So now, granted, I think she does a lot of it in the cloud.
Right.
So hopefully she doesn't lose a lot of it.
Recuperate,
But
yeah.
anything she may have downloaded, any e-guides, any e-books or whatever,
It's all lost
they were all on that computer.
because somebody's being scuzzy. As
Is
an
that not the
individual.
worst story? That's a terrible story. I mean, it's not as bad as people standing on their roof trying to get rescued. I feel for those people. I mean, this kid is first world problem. She'll get
Again,
she'll get another
your segue.
computer, but
That blows my mind. I thought you were going to send me like a Cinderella story. Like, you found it. That is half the battle.
honestly,
That's insane.
I think she's going to get it back. So I'm going to say right now that I think the lady who took it is going to come to her senses, feel bad, and return the computer and say, I just didn't know what to do with it. So I honestly
thought it was abandoned for the 1.5 minutes that you decided to walk away
to
from
go
it.
get a drink.
Don't ever leave things out of your sight. I know
No.
it's personal belongings, whether it's in your house or in your car or in your anywhere.
So this is a good tech tip for all of our viewers out there who work out of Starbucks, because a lot of the real estate agents,
Oh, that's
you
true.
all work out of Starbucks,
That's
right?
true.
You leave your laptop there, you get up and go to the bathroom because you don't
Bagel.
want to schlep it to the bathroom. Schlep it. It's worth it. Because someone's going to come along and take it. Now, if they do, make sure that you have find lost device set up on your phone. See, if she would have had it set up on her phone, she could have hit the button on her phone and it would have found it right away while the woman was still in the cafe and while she was still in the cafe.
Oh,
You see?
okay.
So this is just a tip.
Preemptive.
This is a tip for our viewers.
Yeah.
To make sure that they set up found lost device. Now, double-edged sword here, because Microsoft is tracking that device for you.
Right.
But the biggest problem with that is Microsoft is tracking that device for you.
They're not going to like show up at your door and
But
say,
you know what I mean? If I always turn off location for privacy,
well, yeah.
because I mean, not that I have anything
tied.
unprivate to look at. It's just me. It's just a thing. I read 1984 when I was 11 years old.
George
and
Orwell.
ever since then,
Hang
I'm
on.
like, how would this be possible? And now,
is.
in 2022, I know how it's possible. So I'm always like, I don't think I want them tracking my location. But
But
if
you
I
can
lose
find your
it,
stuff.
I can find my stuff.
I still want a good solution for your keys. Okay, so
Oh,
yes,
no, we have that. We have this thing called
on
Tile.
your phone. But what if you lose your phone too? I'm just saying, you lose
Well,
your
if you,
phone.
if you lose your file, you can go to any browser and log into Tile and find your stuff.
Oh, okay.
Same thing. All right, so that's the
That's a.
that was the fun
Story of the week.
that happened to happen.
Is it fun? Do you consider that fun?
No, it wasn't fun. I was really upset about that story, so I figured I'd tell you about it. I wanted to see how you felt about it. This other story here, I got a story that came to me today from a company called Linkto, Linqto. And this Linkto is a place where you can go to buy pre-IPO stocks. So companies that aren't on the market yet,
Okay.
as part of the be regularly traded.
What's IPO?
Initial public offering.
Okay.
So a company goes IPO, it goes public, gets on the stock exchange.
So it's pre-public. Got
Pre-IPO.
it.
So where did
Got
they
it.
get these stocks from? Usually they get them from employees who have stock options. And these employees who have stock options, they need cash. And they don't know that their company's ever going to turn into anything. I had stock options once of a pre-IPO company. I didn't know that I could sell them to a company like this and somebody else would have bought them, because then they actually would have been worth something, unlike now they're worthless. So this company called Linkto, they sell pre-IPO stock. And I've been following this one company called Ripple.
Okay.
You may have heard of Ripple.
Sounds vaguely familiar.
Yeah, they're decentralized finance, and the SEC is suing them now. And the
SCC? What
SEC, the
SEC.
Security Exchange Commission,
Okay, now I know.
government regulators are suing Ripple. And they've been suing each other for a while. The thing has been just dragging on
Because they're
trying to use, this is my opinion, I think that they're trying to use the Ripple lawsuit to bring in regulation. So I think the whole thing was a setup from the beginning, because I think XRP is being selected by so many foreign central banks to be the method of
Payment.
financial exchange in cryptocurrency,
Okay.
that I think that they knew Ripple was going to be it. They're suing, they're stalling until they can get their shit together. And now
Stuff together.
no, they're getting their shit together. I don't care what anybody says. This was a stall tactic, it seems to me, because now all of a sudden, here's the headline.
The Daily Unicorn.
You know who that is? Jerome Powell. You know who he is? The dude who prints the money? You know who he
Oh,
is.
I didn't know he's the one that prints the money
No, not-
at the reserve.
Not himself. I mean, he doesn't actually print the money himself.
Have somebody
But,
working for you.
you know, he says when the money's getting printed. Anyway, Jerome Powell has said, let's get DeFi regulation.
Definancing.
D stands for decentralized.
Decentralized finance.
Let's regulate decentralized. So we have centralized regulation,
Okay.
and that's what we got now because we had centralized banks. So people came up with Bitcoin to go decentralized, to say, you know what? No, we don't want it to be held by the central banks. So now they got this thing called DeFi. They started calling it DeFi, deregulated, decentralized finance.
So it just kind of rolls off the tongue.
So the guy running the central bank wants to regulate the decentralized way that people are trying to figure out how to use cryptocurrency.
Okay, so let me just put this in Nicole terms here.
Okay, put it in Nicole terms.
Okay. There's an option to invest in stocks or sell stocks before they become stocks. Okay.
Before they become publicly traded stocks.
Publicly
They're
traded stocks.
They're private stocks.
Okay. And this guy who is in charge of the actual paper money is saying, let's sue Ripple, which is a company that you can do this through, because we want to create an example and make regulations for decentralized coin.
Sort of. The SEC is not the Fed. Jerome Powell's running the Fed, which is a private bank, but it's the central bank. And they want to come up with a CBDC, central bank digital currency.
What?
Listen, Mr. Engineer, when you're doing the edit, put that at the bottom. Central bank digital currency.
Just
All
the
right.
acronyms. Like, you have to be educated in all these different types of acronyms.
Okay.
Holy moly.
So I was mentioning the company that allows you to buy pre-IPO stock, Linkto, LINQTO, and I'll put the link down in the bottom here so that any of our viewers can click on this if they want to buy some pre-IPO. You got to be an accredited investor. They don't let just anybody buy pre-IPO non-public stocks. But you can get accredited by either taking a course or showing you have more than $1 million in net worth.
Okay, so what's the problem with him trying to make an example of him?
Well, they want to roll out a central bank digital currency. In other words, they want to get rid of the paper dollar and they want to replace that with a Bitcoin type dollar, but not Bitcoin.
So then everything's digital.
So everything's digital.
You know what scares me about that?
Yeah, what? The mark of the beast?
I recently watched Handmaid's Tale. Okay, at least the first season. And for anybody who doesn't know what that is, it's like a dystopian society. Anyway, one of the first signs was they cut off everybody's credit cards because it was all digital. And then they sat there on the phones for hours and hours and hours trying to reach their bank to get their money back. Just like that, their credit cards were just completely cut off. Like, that scares me.
They
You don't have any cash. You don't have anything to fall back on. No gold, no silver. And they can just cut it off like
Yeah,
that.
and you can't buy food.
You can't buy food. You can't buy shelter. You can't go anywhere. No gas.
Right.
That freaks me out.
It should. It should. It's extremely scary.
So then
People are
cash.
saying that Bitcoin can't be controlled that way because Bitcoin is between you and me. And the only way to shut off Bitcoin is to shut off the entire internet. because it's not centralized. But there's all these other currencies out there, like XRP, which is probably going to be the CBDC digital currency that they're going to pick. I mean, a bunch of other countries have already picked XRP to be their CBDC, or their method of exchange across countries,
Okay.
cross-border
International
exchange. Right, how this
coin.
country trades with this country.
Right.
That's like going to be the Rosetta Stone, if you will. Like, so if the Philippines has its own currency and Switzerland has its own, they're going to exchange in XRP, which will work in any country. That'll be like the universal language.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So they need you know how you need a universal language.
Yeah.
So right now that is pretty much they call it the petrodollar.
But
the
he's
US
trying to
dollar.
regulate it.
Right. So Jerome Powell wants to regulate decentralized. I just thought that this was a really cool headline, that we want to centralize decentralized finance.
The oxymorons.
Yeah, you see how that goes?
Okay.
All right, so we're going to watch that story and see how it turns out. But check out XRP and Ripple, and link to, if you haven't, we'll put the links down below.
Okay.
All right, this is another one that came out yesterday. NAR is asking the Supreme Court to overturn the pocket listing ruling. You know what this means?
Okay. National Association of Realtors
Yeah.
is trying to overturn pocket listings.
Yeah, they're trying to overturn the pocket listings.
And a pocket listing is
A pocket listing is a listing you don't put on the multiple listing service for the other agents to show. So basically, you're just trying to sell it directly to the public without a cooperating broker. Now, the problem with this is cooperation.
FSBO, right?
No, FSBO is when you don't use a broker at all.
Okay.
Pocket listing is when the listing broker tries to sell it themselves without a cooperating broker, without a buyer's broker,
Okay, all
so
right.
that the buyer's not represented, or the buyer has to pay their own representation.
So they can collect all the percentage.
They want all the commission.
Got it,
right.
got it.
So what happens in these situations is the pocket listing was pretty much outlawed by NAR MLSs, because most of the states have cooperation rules where the buyer broker has to cooperate anyway. So what happened was the pocket listing, there's a pocket listing service. It was called the PLS, Pocket Listing Service, pretty much. And they sued NAR over their clear cooperation policy, which basically said, you know, agents have to put their listing into the MLS within 24 hours, or they get a $2,500 fine.
Okay.
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 So PLS sues NAR over that ruling, and the judge fines for NAR, so we think it's gone. Then they go to an appeals court, and the appeals court fines for pocket listing. Now NAR is going to the Supreme Court, and they want the Supreme Court to tell pocket listing to take a hike.
Okay. So are you for that or are you against it? Because in my mind, if you have a listing that you want to try to get, you know, no cooperating broker or anything like that, I mean, you're probably not gonna get as much exposure, but it shouldn't be illegal, I would imagine. How do you feel about it?
Well, here's how I feel about it. We obviously own a multiple listing service. We own My State MLS, the nationwide multiple listing service. And our listing service is about cooperation and compensation. But our rules are different, a little different than the National Association of Realtors rules. Our rules say, what does the seller want? Whereas their rules say, we don't care. And they say they care, but they really don't care. Because our rules say, what did the seller require you to do? Did the seller want you to pocket that listing so they didn't have to pay a buyer or broker commission, or because they didn't want a stranger in their house, or they only wanted to deal with the one agent? There's a lot of reasons, privacy issues and all kinds of things, why a seller might say,
Like celebrities?
yeah, you sell my house. I don't want anybody else here.
Right.
You know, if somebody comes here, they want to buy it, you have to accompany all the showings. And I want you to vet everyone who comes in, and I want you to make sure that they can buy the house before you show it to them. So there's a lot of reasons why a seller might say that. But for the most part, the majority of all sellers say, bring anybody and everybody, get me the highest price. But there are some people who don't want their neighbors to know it's listed for sale. They want it to be quiet. They want it to be under the radar.
So
they may not want the world to know that their house is for sale.
Can there be an option where, let's say you have to put it on an MLS, but at least can you put the option pocket listing?
You can call it private, but if it's private, then the MLS says you can't advertise it anywhere. In other words, the MLS is saying that if you take a private listing and you don't share it with everyone on the MLS, and then you go put it on your own website, or you go put a sign in the
screwed.
lawn, you're getting a $2,500 fine because you're not keeping it completely private, even if the seller goes,
So you can't win.
yeah, you can put a sign on the lawn. Yeah, you can put it on your website.
Do you have to
yeah,
do
you
what
can take
NAR
an ad,
says?
but I don't want you to share it amongst the whole community.
So let me ask, because
You have to do what your client says.
so I understand NAR is a bigwig, right?
Yeah.
Do you have to do what they say?
If you're in one of their MLSs and you don't want the $2,500 fine,
If you're
do.
in their MLS.
Right, but if you're in my state MLS, here's the rule. What does your seller want?
Right.
What does your contract say
Right.
that you can do?
Because what's the difference between that and doing a FSBO? I mean, other than having one representation, you should be allowed.
There are some sellers who feel this way, and the only way you can get their listing is to do it the exact way they want you to do it. And they have their reasons. Maybe it saves them money. Maybe they're only paying the listing broker enough for the listing broker and not enough to split. No, I don't want you splitting the money. You bring me a buyer, it's your buyer, you vet the buyer.
Does that run
it
into clear
works,
cooperation, though?
that's a clear cooperation issue. But if the seller of the home, who you're their fiduciary, if you're their listing agent, wants you to do it, then you have to do it. You have to do what your seller wants
Sounds
you
like
to
there's
do.
a lot of gray lines in it, and that's the point of contention. Or are they
Well, there
upset?
should-
What are they upset about? What are they upset's going to happen? NAR, I mean.
NAR?
What are they freaking
NAR
out over?
is upset about pocket listings because they're trying to protect the buyer broker membership of their MLSs over to me, in a way, over the wishes of the seller. But I am all for cooperation. Cooperation is mandatory in almost every state under
Yeah.
license law.
Yes.
So
You got to be
if your
fair.
seller, let's say your seller wants you to cooperate, but you just don't want to because you don't want to share the commission, that's wrong. You should not do that. That should be against the rules. That is against the rules in our MLS.
question.
But if your seller wants you to do something, you have to do what your seller wants you to do.
If this, well, within reason. If the seller,
Right. With not, yeah, right. No
Yeah.
fair housing violations or
Right.
anything like that. But yeah, in regards to privacy, sure.
if the seller, let's say somebody comes up, but they are represented by somebody, and you say, well, my seller doesn't want me to do any cooperation, aren't you obligated to still show them every possible offer?
Yes. You have to present all offers.
Right.
You have to present all offers.
Right.
If the seller says, well, I'll sell to those people, and they can be represented by their people, but we're not doing a co-broke. I'm not paying them. Let them pay their own people. That's fine. They're not. No seller is going to say you can't have your own lawyer, you can't have your own consultant, you can't have your own inspector.
Right.
But
So it's
they might say, I don't want strangers in my house unless you personally vetted them as a buyer.
Okay.
You know that they can buy the home,
qualified.
that they have proof of funds, and you accompany them on every single visit inside my home. That's reasonable.
I can understand both sides, honestly. I mean, that is a conundrum.
That's the way it's done in New York City. The listing agent almost always accompanies in Manhattan because of the doorman and the rest of the country. They put a lockbox on and the buyer's agent just goes open the door. But in New York City, you have to make the appointment with the listing agent, and the listing agent has to meet you there.
Okay.
And the listing agent can meet you there with or without your own buyer's agent.
Okay. All right. I can see some pros and cons to both. And there is you want to make sure everything is always fair, and you're not having the real estate agent trying to convince the seller, oh, no, you don't want any cooperation.
Right. Exactly. You don't want a real estate broker to go,
This is what you want.
this is, hey, this is what you should do because it's going to benefit me. No, it has to benefit
Right.
the seller,
But
your
then
fiduciary.
you're relying on people to be honest and
You are that can
Fair.
be that can be a problem.
and
That can be a problem. That's
a
why
human being.
you write it down. You put it in the listing contract.
Boom! There she goes. You follow the contract.
Follow the contract. The contract says whether or not the seller is going to authorize.
Right. So don't put the douche in fiduciary.
That's right. We always say that. Don't.
You do always say
That's
that.
one of my favorite things to say. All right, CoStar. You ever heard of CoStar?
A co-star.
CoStar is a big commercial company. They're worth like $24 billion. Never heard of them?
You're my co-star.
Okay, good to know. They own LoopNet. Ever heard of LoopNet? It's the commercial.
I've heard of LoopNet, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
CoStar owns a lot of stuff. They recently bought this thing called HomeSnap, and HomeSnap is the broker public portal.
Okay.
The broker public portal is something that all the brokers got together and said, hey, let's make this thing that competes with Zillow and Realtor.com and make sure that we get all our listings and our leads back. So they formed this big thing. They worked forever. They finally got all the MLSs to send the listings. They picked HomeSnap to be their vendor. CoStar comes along, $250 million for HomeSnap.
Buy it.
And the broker public portal's like, what's happening here? So the broker public portal is firing HomeSnap, and they're looking for a new vendor.
Okay.
And
Do we know why?
Yeah,
Because co-star bought it.
because CoStar wouldn't meet the terms of the original agreement, which was not to allow other listing agents to advertise on their listing, which was your listing, your lead. All of the rules that were set up.
Yeah. They're not obliging.
Yeah, they don't want to abide by those rules. So that's kind of a problem for them. So what's next for the broker public portal? They're looking for a new vendor, somebody else to come
Call
and
me.
make an app.
I'm just kidding. Don't call me.
Yeah.
Call her.
Call-
Call me out.
Listen, how do you know I didn't already get a call?
That's true. That is
right.
it. I don't.
That's right. All right. Well, that's the news. That's the skinny for today.
Good luck with the hurricane
Yeah,
aftermath.
definitely.
We are praying for everybody. We're sending in donations. And make sure you do your due diligence. You know, like I said, there's a lot of scams out there. But if you're, a nice human being and you want to help, go for it.
Definitely give to the charities that you worked out and you looked into and you think that they're reputable.
I said it right. There was one time I said reputable. This is reputable. Reputable. See you next time.
Bye-bye.